I'm Jiahua, or Java, Executive Director of the UCL University College London Center for Blockchain Technologies, and a proud participant in Ripple's UBRI, University Blockchain Research Initiative. I am very excited to moderate today's session on one of the most critical infrastructural topics in our industry, cross-chain interoperability. As on-chain finance continues to evolve, the ability for blockchains to connect and communicate seamlessly is essential. It's what enables value to move freely across ecosystems, powers composability for devs, developers, and unlocks scalable, compliant infrastructure for institutions to operate cross-chain. Interoperability is a critical theme across many blockchain ecosystems, including the XRP ledger, which is a leading example of a network making strides in this space, including introducing EVM compatibility and integrations that enable cross-chain messaging to support broader use cases. Today, we are joined by protocol leaders building cross-chain infrastructure across diverse networks, here to share insights on the technical security and adoption challenges shaping the future of multi-chain applications. Please welcome with me Sean Lim, who is the
Sean Lim.
It's okay. Sean, sorry. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. I'm the head of institutional solutions, and I'm also heading up APAC for Axelar as part of Interop Labs.
Sorry for going off the script a little bit because I think we have to update people's title as we evolve, just like the technological space. And then we have Hugo, who's the co-founder of Flare. Welcome. And we have Rachit Agarwal, who's head of a global expansion at the Wormhole Foundation.
Thank you,
I hope to get everybody's name and title and institution correct this time. OK, great. So that's all about our panels. And let's jump right in. Interoperability isn't just a developer problem anymore. It's quickly becoming a cornerstone of global crypto infrastructure. So why now? What's changed that makes this front and center issue across chains and regions? This is a question to everyone.
So I think, Java, the most obvious answer is there are a lot more chains now, right? Like 3 or 4 years ago, there were 4 or 5 predominant chains. Now anyone can spin up their own L2. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, of chains, and there will be more chains. So from a user standpoint, if there are so many different chains, then bridges, interoperability solutions become a lot more important. If you think about it from an institutional lens, which I think is a key focus of this conference, institutions don't really want to understand the different blockchains. They want to reach all users. So for them, it's more about choosing the first right partner and then partnering with interoperability solutions to go to different chains and then access liquidity users and make it a better UX for everyone. So I think obviously with the institutions coming on board, it's made it a key topic for everyone, but then it's always been a key topic as more and more chains have evolved. Yeah.
Hugo, Sean?
I think one of the big problems with panels is that when you get a question like that, basically everyone has the same answer.
Oh, yeah.
Which is that, yeah, there's loads of chains, and the idea that you can't do business across those chains is sort of broadly like the idea that Japan can't do business with the US. That would be absurd, especially we're building digital systems. We want to be able to effectively work together. It would be pointless to have a regressive economic system. So yeah, I echo your sentiment.
Sean, in case you have anything to add, otherwise, can be short.
Sure, no problem. I think we can add on that front. So as I mentioned, I head up institutional solutions. We have done a lot of pilot and commercial kind of productization for a lot of the large institutions, the likes of JP Morgan, Connexus, and also with Deutsche Bank out here in Asia. So we are doing quite a lot of work. So interoperability is a very big word. I think at the end of the day, it's about standards that we are setting, whether it's on the technical side, on the legal side, just to mention with regards to across regions, my work includes with working a lot of the public and private sector, kind of understanding the technical standards and legal standards with regards to recognizing tokenized assets across different chains. And subsequently, we are building on different kind of avenues. I think maybe we'll elaborate later. So we were working with the Ethereum Foundation on certain standards. On top of that, we were working very closely with the Ripple team, kind of building that strategic and canonical bridge that kind of enables developers to move assets seamlessly between XRPL and XRP EVM and host logics on the EVM sidechain on top of building and issuing assets on the ledger itself.
Great. Next question is so to you, Sean. Well, we know that Interop Labs is the team behind Axelar, which is powering cross-chain infrastructure across more than 55 blockchains, enabling secure permissionless messaging and interoperability at scale. And you just mentioned, with recent support extended to the XRP Ledger EVM sidechains, you're helping developers unlock new connectivity for XRP Ledger native assets and build seamlessly across ecosystems, as you just mentioned. So what trends are you seeing in how developers are designing for multi-chain from day one? And secondly, what are the most common mistakes or gaps you're seeing in interoperability strategy?
Yeah, I think there's twofold on that front. Firstly, from a developer standpoint, today, if you want to be a successful application, you shouldn't be just thinking on certain walled garden or a specific chain. The ability to pull in liquidity from all the different ecosystems would be key here. I think we are building those lanes and also the highways to do so with regards to supporting across, like mentioned earlier, we right now support more than 55 chains. The actual number is closer to 80. And it's across different virtual machines, the likes of EVM, Ripple Ledger, the sidechain EVM, and on top of that, all the other ecosystems like Move, Cosmos, and we're going to expand to Solana too. So essentially, we are building a lot of the developer tooling to enable them to kind of easily onboard onto whether it's Ripple Ledger or the sidechain without fragmenting the user experience and also liquidity. Then on top of that, I think something that was mentioned on the second part is with regards to some of the mistakes, right? So I think a lot of them are not cognizant of the current infrastructure options out there. They do make certain security trade-offs and also potentially liveliness trade-offs with regards to the deployment itself. So I think these are some of the things that when you are a developer, you should look at the security stack that's securing your cross-chain messaging side.
Very well put. Standard is very important. So another question to all of you, to the entire panel. From a security or custody point of view, cross-chain exploits have cost billions in lost funds. What lessons has the industry learned, and what best practices are emerging to secure cross-chain connections, specifically for developers building multi-chain apps and institutions that require resilience, audits, and counterparty trust? Should we go first with the...
I can take this one first, for sure. Like Wormhole's definitely gone through its unfortunate incidents in the past, and obviously we've come a long way from that. We work with the likes of BlackRock, Apollo, VanEck, a lot of the bigger institutions now. I think one of the key learnings that we had was we didn't want to build, or we didn't want to focus our energy building standards. We wanted to build frameworks. Now, frameworks are a lot more open. The developer experience is a lot more accessible, and the developers can choose what they want, what they don't want. An interesting example of that is in one of our integrations with Axelar, we helped Lido go multi-chain, and they used Wormhole technology, but they used Axelar's verifier network. So enabling people to choose what they want, what they don't want, and giving them those choices is something that I think is coming out as a best practice in the industry.
So diversify kind of the choices and avoiding kind of single point of failure, so to say.
Yeah, so I think I guess I'll echo that, but I think you have two major components. The first is the design of the system and whether it is highly decentralized or not. Obviously, there's different flavors as to how people do that. At Flare, we have always been trying to build the most decentralized system possible, and you run up against limitations, right? Like, how do you XRP Ledger has a 32 slot multi-sig. So how do you represent a validator set of 100? Bitcoin has an even smaller multi-sig size. How do you represent a set of 100? So that's your first, design choices with regards to the bridge. And then you have code issues. And once you built the design, you then have to code it and those kind of things. And we chose to launch a canary net. A fully monetized canary net. We think that's been, for us, a very good step. We've learned a lot about the protocols, and we've found a lot of bugs. So it's very hard to be invulnerable, but you have to just make pretty much every possible step you can to be as minimally vulnerable as possible.
Constantly evolving and improving. And Sean?
Yeah, I'll just add on to the pointers that was mentioned earlier. But I think at Axelar, the idea is to decentralize the full stack. And what does it mean in actual action, right? So if you look at the governance of every smart contract upgrades that we have, it needs to pass through our 75 validators. And it's fully permissionless and open validator set that anyone can participate with a right level of Axelar holdings on that. On top of that, I think we have built in a certain level of defenses within the protocol itself. We have rate limits, we have security audits and bug bounties, kind of add on to the different level of defense on the protocol side.
Thank you very much. And back to you, Hugo. So we know that Flare's mission to bring secure, decentralized data to smart contracts is opening up new possibilities for interoperability. With recent integrations, including with the XRP ledger, you're enabling broader participation across ecosystems. How does this fit into Flare's bigger vision, and where do you see the most impactful use cases emerging?
Absolutely. So our bigger vision is that almost all use cases in the future involve data from external systems. That's our fundamental vision, whether that's price data, data from Web 2, or data from other blockchains, which are proliferating at a fast rate. Combining that with compute, as in the ability to do many calculations very quickly, obviously not on the blockchain because the blockchain doesn't give you the availability to do that. That leads to very interesting product mix. In terms of what we're doing with XRP, it's one of the sort of initial proofs of the use cases of our data capabilities, which is, we've built a blockchain that is fundamentally a database blockchain, and being able to get interactions with XRP and other non-smart contract assets is just like a really low-hanging fruit and provides a lot of dividends and bounties to XRP and those other non-smart contract assets. And as a result, we've found traction there. Yesterday, we announced that we've been building with an external partner a staking product for XRP, and we announced that the first XRP treasury company, Vivo Power, will be committing 100 million to staking XRP through Flare's
congratulations.
Protocols. Thank you.
Great, then the next question to Ratchet. So Wormhole is one of the most widely integrated interoperability protocols, connecting a wide range of layer ones and app chains. From your lens, where is the demand for cross-chain infrastructure strongest? And what are you seeing in terms of institutional or enterprise interest in this space?
For sure. I think all of us would agree that DeFi is still the strongest use case for interoperability. For context, Wormhole has done about 60 billion in volume in its lifespan, and we've started working with the institutions, but the multi-chain AUM for our institutions is about 4 billion, with BlackRock's BIDO fund being the highest. I would say a subsegment of DeFi is stablecoins, which also a key part of this conference as well, where you see a lot of the original DeFi players wanting to build stablecoins, but now you have institutions who want to build stablecoins as well. So yeah, just to answer your question, DeFi is probably definitely the strongest use case. You have stablecoins, which is emerging as a subsegment to that. And then on the institutional side, they want to build money markets, stable coins, all those different things, but it's very small relative to the larger scale of DeFi. But we'll see how that progresses in the future, and it will probably tipple. We'll see it flippening, but when and how, I don't know. But yeah, the institutions are here.
totally agree. I think this is very topical now that also we have RLUSD as well with the XRP ledger. So yeah, a lot of things are happening with the stablecoin space. So if we move on to the next question to all of our panelists, given we're at APAC today, let's get very specific now at one chain for a moment, which is the XRP ledger. As the XRP ledger continues expanding its interoperability through mechanisms like hooks, side chains, and integrations with networks like Axelar and Flare, what type of design do you think would be most suitable for XRP ledger, and how should developers, users, and other stakeholders be most prepared for the advancement of XRP ledger in interoperability?
Sean, you want
to go first?
Yeah, sure. I think we've been doing a lot of work with developers in the ecosystem. I think just to name a few, there is a money market protocol called Strobe. I think that the idea is to actually utilize different types of logic that's hosted on the EVM side chain and thereafter do issuance on the Ripple ledger. So we enable the message passing layer where we can actually cross-settle across the two different chains itself. So you can bring logic and kind of string different types of possibilities as builders on that front, right? So on top of that, I think Axelar has a cross-chain token standard that can potentially enable any issuers from Ripple ledger to actually issue onto other chains, or even existing developers from other ecosystems to actually onboard on the Ripple ledger very seamlessly without compromising on security and liveliness on that front.
Yeah.
So, we're building out something we call protocol managed wallets, which uses a TEE infrastructure to allow a smart contract on Flare to essentially control tokens on other chains. You can think of that as, in the first instance, as a bridge. But ultimately, it doesn't just have to be a bridge. You can take data inputs from Flare's data oracles, whether that be price or state from another chain, and then you can effectively apply a state transition, which then gets represented as a transaction on another chain, whether that's XRP or Bitcoin or Ethereum. So ultimately, what we're trying to do at Flare is abstract away essentially the complexity of all these different chain standards into one essentially EVM layer, which is quite understandable to the majority of people in the industry.
Yeah, and I can talk about it from a user perspective. I think Wormhole is still evaluating how we would integrate XRPL or XRPL EVM. I think as a user, I saw Hugo's presentation yesterday on staking. That was really interesting. I think this conference, I've seen a lot of panels around staking in general, and the concept that you can stake your XRP and get yield is phenomenal. I think that's like a really big upgrade from a user's perspective. I saw a lot of talk about the RLUSD stuff. I think XRP staking plus RLUSD, there are like many different DeFi use cases that I think will emerge. Like you could probably, stake XRP, loan it, borrow against it, use RLUSD to loop it again. I think we'll see a lot of DeFi use cases come out of XRPL as well. And I think the team's already on board doing a lot of this stuff as well. So yeah, from a user perspective, like it's interesting to see how DeFi will evolve on XRPL.
Definitely, and interoperability solutions will play a critical role here because you want to use kind of liquidity from also other chains from the entire blockchain ecosystem. Totally agree. So I want to, we talk a little bit about design there, but I want to go even a little bit more specific and to understand a little bit of technicality of the interoperability design from your point of view. So we know that there are different design choices for cross-chain bridges in terms of the way a crypto asset is transferred. We're talking about asset transferring. There's burn and mint or lock and mint mechanisms, and there's liquidity network mechanism where a transfer request is passed to liquidity providers, LLPs in our DeFi jargons, who maintain reserves on both chains. Right, you might be running a AMM protocols or something like that, decentralized exchanges on the bridge, and then so that's on asset transfer point of view, and in terms of the level of trust of bridges, they can be controlled by smart contracts or a group of validators. So my question is, how do you see the evolution of the design in interoperability solutions? And how could we strike a balance when there are trade-offs between those choices?
Yeah.
Wormhole wants to go first?
I think the first thing that we do need to change is the term interoperability. Like, it took me 3 months to actually say it properly.
Did I slip a little?
No,
Yes, I
I'm
slipped a little.
saying,
I
like,
agree.
it's really hard.
Interoperability. Sorry.
Okay, but I think one of the things that we've started working on a lot is our intents product. So we have this product called Wormhole Settlement. The way that intents usually work is they're basically solvers that help you bridge, right? So you want to go from chain A to chain B. Instead of going from chain A to chain B directly, there's a solver that basically sends you funds, and then it's basically a seamless process because you get funds really easily. The thing that we noticed was solvers have to rebalance amongst different chains, and that was like a liquidity problem, and it was really capital intensive. So the way that Wormhole Settlement works is we basically enable solvers to just build on Solana, for instance, and then they just rebalance themselves on Solana. I think this is a design mechanism that a lot of the other interoperability protocols will take notice of. I think this is something that we can do on other blockchains as well. As XRPL evolves and they add more functionalities to smart contracts, it's definitely something to evaluate. But I think that type of intense mechanism is something that's interesting to us and something that we've been focusing on.
Yeah, and a lot of research on optimizing kind of the routing, solving routes as well. So yeah, if perhaps Interop or Flair, if you have anything to add.
I mean, I'm happy to add to that. My thesis on why we're doing data is that what we've actually built in crypto is extremely inefficient. Like TradFi is more efficient than DeFi in terms of capital usage. The reason we want to combine data with compute is to start trying to find ways to basically patch everything up and make it much more efficient by effectively having one hub of liquidity at Flare where you can effectively abstract away all the other chains. That's sort of our general thesis.
Yeah, so for Axelar side, the intents protocol would be live for XRPL and XRP sidechain as supported by Squid, one of our ecosystem projects. I think it was announced yesterday, Coral V2 will be supporting that solution. So we have the same solver mechanism that enables liquidity to move between all the different chains that we support very seamlessly with sub 30 seconds type of settlement. On top of that, having the security of the actual finality that is secured by Axelar's messaging. On top of that, I think there are other models that we are thinking today where we can extend the network further, where we can use certain type of light clients, whether ZK or different types of proof methods to actually extend the network in a much more scalable manner, because not every chain will require the full stack of 75 validators that Axelar is providing today. And there will be certain trade-offs that the chain or application that's building around that would then make the conscious decision, right? So we're helping a lot of the developers kind of think through that model and kind of find the most optimal way to implement that using the Axelar network.
Thanks. This is very, very educational. I want to just get a little bit of technical flavor into this conversation. So if we fast forward 5 years, how do you imagine users and institutions would interact with the multi-chain ecosystem? And will chains disappear into the background, or do you think will chain selection still matter?
That's an interesting one. I think the interop space is really conflicted on this topic overall. Like, I have my own I'll share my personal views on this topic. Java, have you seen one of those chocolate packs where they're like smaller bounties, there's like Snickers in there, there's a Mars in there, but like you have all the chocolates in one?
We're talking about kind of selection,
yeah,
diversification again, yes.
You have one packet where you have all the chocolates, but you still, when you open the packet, you still know it's a Mars. You still know it's a Snickers. You still know it's a bounty, right? I think that's the way that will evolve, where interoperability solutions will get so good that you won't realize you're using a chain, but you will still know, because the protocol that you're using will be built on a chain, and they will market themselves as a chain, right? From a user perspective, you may not know, but if you're in the trenches and you want to understand yield opportunities, you want to understand liquidity, you will still have to understand the different mechanisms of the different chains, right? So that's how I think about it. That's totally my personal opinion.
I totally agree. I think you do need to understand, but for adoption only, perhaps on a very high level, you understand what kind of flavor you want without understanding the deep technicality so that every user can use it. Yeah, Flair.
I think the success of the internet shows that people don't want to know what server they're interacting with. And I think if we don't build a completely abstracted future, then I think we're going to really struggle to get mass adoption. So that's my take.
Agree, yes.
Yeah, I think I'll just end off with regards to this because our interaction is not only on the DeFi crypto native side. We talk to a lot of the institutions. The idea here is that if you think of today, I think that the people that sit here in Singapore, potentially they know like Grab as an application, as a super app. In the US, like Uber, where you can do Uber Eats, you can do transport. You have multiple applications potentially sitting in different servers in different parts of the world. How can you make it seamlessly, right? Similarly for the internet in the very early days, or even the email protocol, right, where SMTP, so on and so forth. That seamless manner where Gmail can talk to Hotmail, I think that's something that we are kind of working towards, and I think different protocols have different ways of kind of expressing that. I think what Axelar, the other teams here that's represented, we're working towards that future where users don't even know that they're working on different types of blockchains.
And they don't have to know in order to use it. Great, I think that's a wrap. And now this is the last session of the lunchtime, so we can now interact and interoperate, perhaps. It's a bad joke, but thank you very much. And please.